And here we are again. This is, I was just looked at and forgot it. It's all right. September 19th, 2013, TAR podcast number 44. That's a ton. We're catching up to Justin's age.
Getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. Takes a few more to get to mine. It probably won't last that long. Well, let's see. A couple of things going on. First of all, we want to push the TAR 36, which is Jason Shaw and Mike DeShane. That's the 27th through the 29th of this month. That's like 10 days from now. Is that right?
Yep. No.
No.
It's next Friday.
Next Friday. It's 8
8
days.
days.
I can't even add. Today's the 19th. Yeah. And that's 2 out of 3 races to 30. Races to 27. And it's a race. Whoever wins 2 out of 3 matches, and it's playing 10 ball. Should be a pretty good match. They both have a lot of firepower. I tell you, Jason Shaw, Justin and I were talking about that when we just kind of first met him here about a year ago. Man, he fires at everything. He's fast. You know, these matches are going to be done pretty quickly. And I tell you what, I'd much rather watch a fast speed player than somebody that just takes forever. It's just brutal. It'll put you to sleep.
Yeah, Shaw seems to be the favorite coming out.
I'm probably going to agree with that, but you cannot count DeShane out. DeShane's got a good gear. You don't see it as often as you see Shaw. Shaw just puts on track shoes at times. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's got a hell of a break.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
That's a big thing.
It's huge.
So,
yeah.
And, you know, the 2 times Mike has played, you know, he beat Dennis, and then
Shane
lost
tortured
to Shane.
him. Yeah, and that was
you know, Shane turned around and tortured Orcola too. So
yeah,
that's kind of it's tough.
You know,
to,
and
tough to benchmark.
Yeah, well, then there you have Shane. You know, he beats up on everybody on home turf, but he still struggles when he goes overseas. You know, he played in the Qatar. I think he got the top 16. You know, but that was a 128-man field. Plus, they had some qualifiers and everything else. And I guess
that thread was pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
That you know, you had Chris Bartram and Donnie Mills. You know, the players were saying one thing, and other people were saying, you know, if he doesn't win a world tournament, you know, he's going to be forgotten about or whatever.
Yeah, and then of course Bartram says, well, that's fine. How come these world champions won't gamble with him? Just come on, all world champions, just line it up. And that's, you know, we've always said that. You got to admire Shane. He will gamble with anybody. Has no fear.
No,
Tournament play is so different.
And
you know?
the thing is, too, I think that what's interesting about Shane is, you know, he got his head beat in here.
3 times in a row.
That. Yeah. I mean, Shane got his head beat in.
And look what Alex did that one famous match where Alex comes back from 23 games behind. Yeah. That tortured him really badly.
Yeah, that screwed him up for a minute. But
yeah, for a minute.
But the fact that he's, you know, he's, to me, that's the mark of, you know, somebody, and all great players can do that.
Yeah.
You know, so can come back from that and still play it, you know, come back and win the matches where they might, you know, they got beat before. But 36 is going to be good. I'm excited about it.
Good.
It's these guys. The chirping's been quieter now than I thought it would be because they know they're really going to play.
Well, yeah, but there's been a lot of things going on. They were at the. I'm not sure if either one of them really went to the Qatar event, but now they're both in Turning Stone, which started today. Mm-hmm. Which you can watch. There's a good stream on that on AccuStats. Just go to AZ Billiards, and it's. I haven't watched it, but I heard it's a really, really good stream. But then Turning Stone was having issues with their internet, which is, you know, the streaming is a dicey.
Brutal,
it is a dicey business because you are dependent on everybody, and boy, I'll tell you what, you will know who the weak link is, because it'll bite you in the ass.
Well, yeah, it's you know, the whole internet connection things. It's one of the. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And you're completely at someone else's mercy.
Yeah, it's out of your control.
And. You know, a lot of casinos, if they don't do a lot of streaming or they don't have, you know, they don't understand the severity of it. You know,
well,
to them it's like, oh, okay, something's wrong with the internet. We'll get to it. But
do you remember the year at Derby City? It was the first or the second year when we moved out of the Executive West and went to Southern Indiana.
Yep.
And what, about every afternoon at 4 o'clock or something?
Yeah, they were doing something on the network.
They were doing all their transference of data that when they uploaded all their what every slot machine did, and for 2 hours it was sending all this massive information, probably to Vegas, which is where Caesar's headquarters is. But in the meantime, your matches froze a little bit.
Yeah, it would make sense. End of day numbers.
You know, it was, and nobody could figure it out, so everybody had a panic attack. Which, by the way, you know, the turning stone this is the 21st turning stone. You got to take your hand off to Mike Zilgan for keeping it together that long. It reminds me of those things they used to do in Reno. You know, they got up to like 44th or 46th. They went 2 times a year for like almost 25 years. You know, the old Reno Sands.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to see. So, you know, they're up to 21, you know.
Oh, that's a good, you know, that's a big deal.
It is. I mean, there's actually getting to be quite a few longevity type of tournaments. The U.S. Open, Barry Berman is, his is the 39th, I believe. That's in October. Our National's the 38th. The Jay Swanee is the 19th. The U.S. Bar Table is the 20th. I mean, there's a lot of long-term. The one that Texas Open's on the 40th.
Yeah, but they all pale in comparison to the World 14-1. That's on like its 198th year.
Oh yeah, well, that's Williams speak. I just don't get it. And you know, Mike Howerton got his nose open a little bit on that this year, and good for him. It's just total horse crap. It's not the 72nd anything. It's the 6th. You know, but that whatever.
I just thought I'd tweak you there.
Yeah, I know.
See if I could set you off early.
Yeah, I'm pretty calm about it. It's my old CW trick.
Tomorrow I'm going live with finally the TAR 1 will be up on our video on demand channel.
Yeah.
And that's Corey and Shane from September 2007, very first match we ever did. And as I was working on that, it was really cool to see, you know, the stuff. Just, you know, Billy and Grady were doing the commentary.
They were going off how great
they
this.
were
He
awesome.
said, they said, man, nobody beat this kid in the world. Yeah. Nobody knew who Shane was.
Well, people knew who he was,
yeah,
but he wasn't Shane yet.
No, he was.
He hadn't won anything yet. But
I know the line was he wouldn't see 80.
Yeah.
And I think he beat him. He beat Corey 100 to 68.
Yep.
Yeah. I was there, man.
He
drove all the way there.
Yeah, you were there. Sullivan
was there.
Yeah. Billy, Grady. That was a cool match. That was wild. That was
Lucky's Lucky's.
Yeah, the place was packed.
Yeah,
packed. Sold out both days.
And the best line of the whole thing was Corey was such a good sport, and it wasn't because he was giving up or anything, but he just looked at everybody and says, "If this was a fight, they'd have stopped it." You know, you can't get any better than that.
Yeah, there's one part in there on the second day, I think. It's when Shane went unconscious and just rattled off. It played perfect for like an hour and a half. And finally, I think he missed or broke dry, something. Corey got to the table without, you know, being stuck to the back of a ball. And he didn't really say anything, but just the kind of look on his face when he got up, it was really, you know, it was real funny. And I got a great deal of respect for Corey dating all the way back to that.
Me too.
Because
he was a gentleman. There was no pitching, throwing chalk, breaking cue sticks.
No.
He was absolute. He understands that the roles can be brutal at times.
You know, he came out. That's, like I said, that's the first thing we'd ever done. So nobody knew if it was going to work or not work, and you know, that was a legit action match. They came up there because they thought they had a shot to win $10,000, and they did. I mean, the money was there, it was posted. But he ran into a buzzsaw, and but you know, Corey's a good dude.
Yeah, you know, and he's held up pretty well. He lost his focus doing too much golf, but he's always a threat. He just is always a threat.
He's one of my favorite players to watch, especially playing one pocket or
his creativity is off the charts.
Exactly.
Yeah, he does things that he's the closest person to Efren that there is. You know, because
as
of the
far
creativity.
As creativity. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
He's done some off the wall shit.
Yeah, he does.
I'll never forget, you know, the famous AccuStats where he's playing Shannon Dalton, crashing the balls wide open.
One pocket.
I think it was one of Grady's tournaments.
Yeah, it was up in Maine.
And but I owned that AccuStats tape, and that was fun. He won that match. He won. But that was crazy.
Let's see. So, anything else going on with the TAR? You're bringing up the old matches, and
TAR 1's going to be up tomorrow, and it's all 8. It's the DVD set. It's all 8 DVDs. Price will be $15. You can download them or just stream them, whichever you like. You can stream them for up to a year. You can download to save and do whatever you want with them. Each DVD is a pretty big file because I wanted to keep the quality. The production value is not like our new stuff,
No,
obviously.
it wasn't
It's the first
HD.
thing we ever
Yeah.
did, yeah. So it's 4:3 format, so it's old square format. It's very watchable. It looks good. The audio is good, but it's just pretty much single camera coverage.
Oh.
But it's good, for what it is. I enjoyed,
Yeah.
kind of strolling back through it.
Okay, now
But-
you're doing some other matches. You're trying to get a whole bunch of the older matches up, I think. You
Yeah,
said.
they're actually converting right now. Where am I at?
Yeah, you said something like doing like 5 or 6 10-ball and half a dozen one pocket or something like that. And
Well, right now the ones that are finished, Kopinyi versus Eminem, Suke. This is all 10-ball from this year.
from this year, okay, the 2013
Kopinyi
US
versus
Open.
Eminem, Ralph versus Earl. Shane and Earl. Manny Chow versus Beato. And then it's about 10 one-pocket matches. Those will all be going up next week on our YouTube channel.
And
So you
that's
can
just
select those for
YouTube,
free. Yeah.
YouTube, slash.
The Action Report.
The Action
It's
Report.
YouTube channel. I think it's YouTube/channel/The Action Report.
Okay,
But you can get to it through our homepage too.
just go to theactionreport.com. And
Yep.
yeah.
There's a link there.
Yeah. Okay.
But and I'll be posting all that stuff on Facebook
Okay.
and AZ as well. So
Okay. World Cup of Pools going on. It's a matchroom event in York Hall in was it Green something? Green.
I don't know.
I don't know.
haven't been
It's
following.
London, but another matchroom. I watched some of the stuff on. They were streaming, and their production quality is unbelievable. But that's
Oh,
what
they're pros,
big
man.
bankrolls do.
Pros.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are pros. They had some pretty cool entries. They had a Jam put up a link to the Amar Kang and Raj Hundal they were Team India in their entry, and they had all the Indian drums and it was quite the entrance.
Mhm.
You know, but that's what they get good production value. They make things happen. It's great. The Qatar event, the 9-ball, Torsten is just tearing them up. I mean, he wins that thing, then he goes and plays in the Maryland Straight Pool. He wins that. He came off of Charlie Williams's semi-world tournament, and he wins that. You know, arguably the best player in the world right now. I don't think anybody
See,
can.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
He's obviously one of the best.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a big believer in whoever wins the last 2 tournaments is automatically the best player in the world. Because, I guarantee you there's about 5 or 6 Filipinos that would crawl over a mile of broken glass to play him every day.
Well, and see, that's the issue because Torsten won't gamble.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he would do challenge matches of some sorts, but
And I'm not saying that to belittle
no,
Thorsten at all.
nicest guy in the
But,
world too.
I mean,
He's,
to me,
you know,
it's I'm not a big fan of one guy ever being the best because they're so close. There's so many guys that are so close.
we all agree on that.
you
It
know.
changes every
I
day.
mean, if you were going to
Yeah.
go by tournaments, how can you fool with Appleton?
Yeah.
How if you're going by tournaments, how is anybody better than Darren Appleton?
Yeah, of course, and that was discussed in one of the threads, and Randy Goldwater is a real good supporter and friend of Torsten's. He said, yeah, but the last 2 or 3 times they've met, Torsten has won. You know, things like that happen. But I'll tell you something, too. Appleton was a real gentleman in a sport, and you congratulate him and says, good luck doing this, and good, because, well, they're buddies. I mean, they're both from Europe, but they're not best buddies, but they're both gentlemen, and they're professionals.
I mean, to me, it just my whole thing, and this is just it goes back to a fan point of view. Everybody wants to put somebody as the best or whatever, but to me, that almost kind of takes away from the accomplishment. It's
Sure.
I mean, what he's done is great, and he deserves all the accolades that he's going to get for that. It's just when you get the people popping up with 9 posts saying he's the best to ever pick up a cue, it's like
No.
come on, man.
He's the best there is. I think he's the best right now, at this particular moment. But that can change tomorrow. And the formats are critical. Straight pool's a funny game. He's stuck 110 to nothing. He runs 124 and then a 26 something. Boom, it's out. Straight pool is very funny. You make one boo-boo and pretty soon you're not getting out of your chair. So, but and no matter what, Torsten is playing extremely good pool.
Yeah.
You know, when he was like 19, he ran 21 racks of 8-ball on a 9-foot table and 404 balls. 19 years old. How do you like them apples?
Well, Thorsten's the prototype of the European style
Yeah, the
player.
Pat school, the whole thing. Yeah.
You know, where he treats it as sport. You know, he's a professional about it,
Oh yeah.
and you know, that shows when he goes and he plays these tournaments.
Yep.
And you know, people talk about why doesn't Shane do better in international events, and somebody brought it up, but it's a good point. I think is that Europeans seem to travel better. And I think that maybe that comes from they travel more younger. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just strictly mental. Maybe they're tougher mentally in those type of situations. But you know,
we know that
eventually the kid will win one, and then he'll get that monkey off his back.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
you said before.
how long did it take Bustamante to win one?
Oh yeah, long time. But you said before the European mindset is great for a race to 11. It ain't so hot for a race to 30.
Well, not
and it's
not
just a different mentality.
Not only that, but just the discipline you have to have when you travel somewhere. You know, you're out of your comfort zone. You may not speak the language. You may not know where to get food.
Yeah.
You know, how do you get a taxi?
Yeah, where's the bathroom?
Yeah, exactly. You could be completely uncomfortable. So it takes a lot of discipline to be able to deal with that and focus on what you have to do, and you know, eat best you can, get your rest, you know, and keep your mind right. Because at that level, I really believe pool's 90% mental. You know, all these guys play fantastic.
Yeah, except again the break. There's just such mastery to the break, and that's a skill shot. And it seems like it's.
But it's not a skill shot when they're playing. You know, a lot of these world tournaments, at least the older ones.
Yeah, the 9-ball was alternating break.
Yeah, but I mean they, you know.
With the magic rack, and I didn't see anybody running a bunch of racks. It's
you
just
can't run a
interesting.
bunch of racks in alternate.
Well, I
break.
know. I mean, no, I don't mean
point.
they weren't. Yeah, I know what you meant, but they weren't running out per se. It was a lot of turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's probably just because of pressure and things. Things change when you're playing for $50 or a world championship. Yeah.
But so I don't know. It's right now. We're getting to the time of year where it will quickly turn to Moscone Cup. It's coming at us full force.
December 2nd, right here in Las Vegas at the Mirage this year.
They're still announcing teams. They haven't announced the full team yet. Who have they announced for Europe so far?
I haven't been following it.
Yeah.
You have to. Well, I don't. They haven't mentioned Torsten, so but he's got. I'm sure Appleton, Suke. Yeah, he got Suke was because he's like the 19th
Ralph
year in a row.
and Darren, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking Boys was in it.
I don't know. I haven't followed. I personally don't think the releasing of players in dribs and drabs.
I don't like it either.
Doesn't work for me.
I don't like it.
Maybe it's had success for Matchroom, but I don't really care for it.
You lose your attention span.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of that. So.
But and right now America is Johnny, Shane, Buddy is co-captain.
Right.
They released anyone else?
I thought they announced Earl, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Which is kind of shocking. I mean, there's two ways of seeing that. They basically said they'll never have Earl again, but Earl's playing pretty good, and Earl's Earl.
20th. They want a good show.
Yeah. Well,
It's the 20th, and
it's
I think
TV.
that's what it's going to be.
It's made for TV, and
you know, I can see why they do it, and I think Earl deserves it. You know, I mean, just if they're going to do it, if it's going to be a celebration of the Moscone Cup as a whole, Earl's been a giant part of it. Maybe for not the right reasons.
Yeah.
But you know, he's you know.
And it's such a shame because Earl is such a talent, but he just goes half cocked. Yeah. We all know that.
But I mean, he's, you know,
like
I'm sure the fans will enjoy him being there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love him or hate him.
It will at least excite the audience, and you know, the American audience never meets. I mean, come on, Europe. 50 people come over from Europe, and they make more noise than 400 Americans do. It's just like, come on, we got to step it up a little bit. But they're party animals.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. A couple other little things are going on. Mark Cantrell, who most people know from the Legends and Champions Tour, has actually got a job. He's going to work for Mark and Kimberly Griffith. Not me. I know Mark Griffin is me. Mark Griffith is from. They're up in Colorado Springs. Straight Shots. It's darts and billiards. And they're pretty interesting people. They're very, very, very active with the BEF, the Billiard Education Foundation, and very active in the junior program. So we're going to be doing some things together with them too. We're through our Six Pocket program, but we're having some computer glitches. I'm not a big fan of nerds these days because every time they never get things done on time, on budget. It's just unbelievable. But another month or so, we'll be announcing. We should have it up and running, tested, and everything. But anyhow, we congratulate Mark, and he's going to be doing some PR and that type of things. I think it'll be a good deal for him. And I think it'll be good for the industry, and it'll allow him to keep doing his Legends and Champions tours to a degree, and we'll see. And the Griffiths are good for the industry because they do support the juniors, and they do support pool, and they have a big heart, and they'll put their bankroll where their mouth is. So that's good. Good for them. And they're probably having some tough times too because they're up in the rainy seasons. I mean, Colorado has just been getting washed away, and they're in Colorado Springs.
Yeah,
So
I haven't followed that too close, but
Man.
evidently it's really bad. In certain
yeah.
parts, I guess it's really because one article I read, they came through it was a little town or an area, and told people to
Go.
if you don't leave, you better have enough stuff to last a couple weeks because you're not going to be able to get out.
Wow.
And we're not coming back.
And I've been up there. That's when I bought the leagues. They were in Colorado Springs, and that is a very hilly town. I mean, you're going down roads.
They have these things called the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, I know that. And you know something? Colorado Springs, I'm well aware of it. But when it rained, just little rain, you'd go down the hill, and all of a sudden, the road is just blocked because there's like 8 feet of water because it's at the bottom of a hill.
It's kind of like living in Vegas.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Whenever it rains for half an hour, it washes out every street.
Yeah, but it was quite the deal. Joe Tucker is moseying right along with the American Billiard Club League. Their finals are coming up. It's the first session, and the finals are October 12th at Diamond Billiards in Midlothian, Virginia, which is right next door to where the U.S. Open 9-ball is. In fact, it's the day before the U.S. Open 9-ball, so the players will probably participate in both. They're down to the last 8 players. 8 players are playing for $12,000. Minimum is $1,000 guaranteed. All the players get that for showing up.
Where's the final?
It's at Diamond Billiards in Midlothian, Virginia. It's that's Brandon Schuff's homeroom. Real nice room, I understand. And it will be streamed. There'll be some more information coming out about that. The actual times, I don't know. And this is just the first session. They'll be starting another session in about 2 to 3 weeks. We're still looking for more rooms and more players. Best thing to do is contact Joe Tucker, or you can contact them through my site. I've got something. Let me see where I put it. abcpl.info is a temporary website, or you can go to the Facebook. I know, it's more
Sorry.
nerds. Yeah, yeah. Or go to Facebook, American Billiard Club League. Yeah. What are you laughing about?
Just acronyms, man.
Oh well, what are you going to call it? You can't.
Just
Yeah,
acronyms.
it's alphabet soup, man. What do you want?
Sorry.
I mean, what's your name on AZ Billiard?
Tar.
JCIN. See, yeah, TAR. See, TAR.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I got 2 acronyms.
Yeah, I know it. And you got spells rat backwards. You know that, don't
I
you?
got 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got 90 of them. One of them a television show.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Tim Crazymon said that so far the USA announced team is Archer, Shane, and Morris. Europe's announced Ralph and Darren.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and evidently DeShane's down 8-6 in Turning Stone right now.
Who's he playing?
I don't know. Somebody mentioned that the guy who's playing's pace is messing with him, but
Oh.
so I don't know.
Okay.
What else was I going to talk about? Here's something. Why don't you pull out your AZ thread questions? We had some pretty
Okay.
good questions there in the thread on AZ.
Well, I'll skim through them. Some were kind of cute, but
I'll tell you what, let
Yeah.
me pull it up because
I
know
got it
how-
right here printed, yeah.
I know, but I know
Yeah.
how. You skip all the interesting ones to talk about the ones you want to talk about.
okay. Well,
Go ahead, you start.
Well, I mean, it's K-Town. If a conflict arises, how will you handle it differently than in the past?
Well, I answered that in the thread.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
So you don't even read the
I
threads.
do. I did read it. I read it a long time ago. I can, I have a selective memory.
See what I mean? That's why I'm pulling up the thread.
Is the level of promoter cooperation getting better or worse since the difficulties bonus ball presented? Got no idea. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I'm not sure what the other promoters are. I think Barry Berman is trying very hard. I wish him the best. I mean, I know there's been some people perceive there's more bad blood than there really is. But some of the other promoters, we just don't do business with. I don't know if it's better or not. I know that we've alluded to, and our national event, our U.S. Opens, and they're going to take a completely different twist for our July event. We're going strictly invitational. And we don't know what we're doing yet. We're discussing it. If somebody's got any great ideas, send them in, because we want something that's respectable. I just refuse to deal with with a lot of the people that are in the industry. There's going to be some criteria that you have to do if you're going to partake. So enough of that.
As far as the cooperation, it's I mean, there's really not a whole lot of cooperation to be. I mean,
Yeah.
other than dates. Dates is the biggest thing. You know, I mean, just dates, scheduling.
Yeah.
But
I mean, how do you cooperate with Turning Stone? Turning Stone does 2 events a year. Mike Zuglin's a cool guy. Fine. He does his event. We do ours. And,
yeah,
you know, Derby City does theirs. And
it's really about
yeah.
all you can do.
it is what it is.
And it's, you know, dates and schedule. You know, the biggest conflict is dates and scheduling, when there is one among promoters. But for the most part, it's really not that big a deal. Perfect example is the Ultimate 10 Ball working with Greg at I forget the guy's name. The
Badi.
Yeah, Badi. Yes, I'm
Badi
sorry.
Nazareth.
But you know, that's a perfect example of cooperation. Yeah. You know, that tournament doesn't happen if Greg doesn't say, "Okay, let's work together."
Sure.
That's a big deal. You know, that was a good
It
tournament.
was a huge deal. It got caught sideways with all the crap that was going on, and I think I don't know if Badi will be back. I don't know if Turning Stone or if Tunica will be back.
Yeah.
I seriously doubt either one.
Yeah. And
everybody says, "Oh well," and see that again is all the fatalities of them, all the crap. Not bashing anybody in particular.
yeah, you don't want to. It's hard to point fingers at anybody, but at the same time, I do know, talking to Greg, that you know, he took it personal. I mean, to the point of where it's kind of like, you know, it was a big deal to him.
Mm-hmm.
It was more than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And it's.
He claims ownership to sometimes the players, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
And in some ways,
well, it's not ownership. I don't think it's just he's a guy. He's
supported the players for
so
15
long.
years
Yeah.
and put a ton of money in, and they're going to jack him around. After a while, you say, "Whoa!" And I'm having the same problems with some of the stuff, and you and I have talked about it. The stuff out of the July. It's just after a while, it's just not worth it. If you have a problem, you don't put on Facebook that something's wrong. When I don't even think that was what was wrong. You know, like somebody complained the tables weren't clean. Well, that's weird. You're the only guy that said it, and the tables were cleaned every night. If you got a problem, you come and talk to us. And those are the type of things they're going to quit. I'm not taking away their right to freedom of speech. They're just courtesies. We need to unite and make the game go. But we worked really well with the BEF. That was cool having the kids there. I just don't know if we're going to be able to do it again because they require 16 tables. I'm not going to have 16 tables there next year.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. It costs over $10,000 to get the tables here.
I thought it was cool if you did it again.
We need to have them on different days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
well, we didn't understand. We were dealing with the hotel and too many moving parts. But they finished up after we finished up, and it was no good.
No, it was you know, it was cool to see the play. I was really glad the kids were there. I had some concerns, you know, kids, casino, Vegas, all that kind of stuff. I didn't hear any real complaints.
Good. It went good.
But it would have been nicer if there would have been more focus on them instead of the feeling of, and I was guilty of it too, because when that time they were playing, all I wanted to do was get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just, and that's nothing bad against the kids.
Yeah.
It's just because we were wore out.
Yeah.
And, you know, they deserve a little better than that, I think.
I do too. And like I say, we just didn't quite know what to expect, or, you know.
Well, I mean, it was great that you gave it a shot, and hopefully something can work out, you know, if they want to come back, and if, you know, I don't know how you would do it. You know, I mean, you don't want to do it on bar tables, so, you know, if you did it on bar tables, it'd be easy, but.
Oh, yeah.
What else have we got?
I don't know.
Is there any side bet between Mike and Jason? A lot of woofing going on, side action. I don't know. Generally, I find out all that stuff when they get here.
How's the action room going? You say it's favoring Jason at this point?
Seems to be favoring Jason at this point. We'll see. You really don't get a real good final line until, I'm going to guess, probably early next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if there's going to be action. Actually, when I announced the match, there were some early lines. A lot of guys jumped on it. But let me see.
You missed the question about Alaska or Qatar. This is for Joe Jaguar. Obviously, Alaska is a better place. And we can do streaming from Alaska, and Qatar obviously
You ever
can't.
been to Qatar?
No.
Qatar could be awesome, and you'd never know.
Yeah, but listen, Alaska is double awesome. But all I know is it's just unbelievable to me that they can't get a stream out of one of the places that's, it's bizarro,
Barney,
Caleb.
Yeah. He was the guy who brought up, and you talked about it before we went on, was the idea of having maybe a segment, or that would require organization, and we ain't about that shit. So, but it's a good idea to have some, bring up some information or talk about some great players of the past, things like that. It's good. It's a great idea. I think we should try it.
I love the idea. Diane Hoppy, and when at one of the last couple of years of the Executive West, I participated. I helped her, funded it a little bit, and she got some great. I can't remember what's road stories, things of the. Anyhow, they had like 10 of the guys from Johnson City. They had. Can't remember their names. Ronnie Allen, Ed Kelly, went on and on and on. They had some great stories. Billy Incardone, Danny DiLiberto. So, but that stuff is priceless, and people need to start doing it because they're disappearing. Like San Jose Dick was going to try and do some recording. Lenny was going to try and get some stuff from him. I've been reading Freddie Benevega's, Freddie the Beard's book, the Hustler's Encyclopedia, I think his name. It's great. There's full of all kinds of little short stories. Identifies a lot of people. I'd recommend getting it. And even Bobby Cotton. I haven't looked his book up again. I've read it a couple of times, but that Confessions of a Road Player. It's just a great read. So there's some good stuff out there, and it's all based around the stories and historical stuff, and it's cool. It's exciting. It's interesting. That's what this sport needs. It needs a little more flavor and color. And all I hear is about Cornbread Red and guys like I've actually met him a couple of times back in the 80s. I went to a couple of tournaments in the States, I live in Alaska. We call it down here in the States.
Where'd you live?
Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay.
Oh yeah, remember? Yeah, Alaska. But anyhow, Cornbread was a character, and this is when he was, hell, I don't know, he must have been 65 or something. But some of the stories, and Steve Lomacco goes on about him. He's related to, he's a son-in-law, I think. But anyhow, some of the stories that they did back at the rack and those things are just crazy. Can you imagine playing pool for $15,000 and $30,000 a game? Yeah. Holy crap!
Yeah, that'd be cool. Actually, that's something. Talking about, I posted a link on my page. I found it on Vimeo, but it was a presentation by a guy, and he was talking about a knife maker. His name was Bob Lovelace.
You were talking about that.
And Bob Lovelace was this cranky old dude. He started making knives. He was a merchant marine guy, and back in the 50s. And he started making knives, and then for himself. And then he liked it, and he felt like he was good at it. So he went to Abercrombie and Fitch. This is when Abercrombie and Fitch was a sporting goods store.
Yeah.
It wasn't clothing line. It was a sporting goods store. And he showed them his knife and said, I want to make, do you guys want to buy some of these? They ordered a gross, 144
Which
knives.
Is a ton back then.
Yeah, he was making them he was beating them out by hand. And so this is how different the times are. So they give him a purchase order for this 144 knives. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have a shop, nothing. And so he takes this purchase order and he goes to a bank. And he goes to the bank and he says, look, I got this purchase order from Abercrombie and Fitch. I need money for a knife shop. And he got it. And so he started making knives. But what he's known for is his design. He's considered the best designer ever. And his knives now, like I just saw one on a forum the other day, 5.5 inch long, fixed bladed knife, just a knife, 9,500.
Now he died, correct?
Oh yeah, he's
with a 15-year waiting list.
25.
25.
That's another story the guy told. He said this guy had got on his books in 1974, And at that time, his most expensive knife was $600. And the book, somehow he got lost. And so he was, decades later, he was calling him up and says, hey, I want my $600 knife. And the knife was called a Big Bear. It's a big, long, giant-ass Bowie knife. Well, at that time, he was getting $13,000 for that knife.
Oh.
And he told him, I'll give you $5,000 not to make that knife. He says, no, I want my $600 knife. And finally, he got his $600 knife. Right. But the reason I posted that is because I see a lot of parallels in the custom Q world.
Sure.
And it's in the knife world. A friend of mine kind of got me into it, and it fascinates me because there's a lot of parallels between custom Qs and the knife world, in that the secondary market for certain products, the demand is so high that, like there was a big knife show here in Las Vegas that I went to, and this guy's Les George Knives, a dealer there had, I think it was 8 or 10 of these knives. And the way that if he put them out, somebody would just come snatch them all up. It would be like if Dennis Searing showed up to, Super Billiards Expo and laid out 8 Qs on his table. They'd be gone in a minute, So, and probably to a dealer who would immediately turn around and flip them.
Yeah.
So it was interesting the way this guy sold these knives. There was a 2-day show, so I think he had 12. So every 3 hours in the show, if you wanted that knife, you went to his booth and you rolled dice. You got 2 dice, and whoever got the highest number, top two highest numbers, got to buy the knife. And the knife sold for like $480, $485, something like that. And that next,
kind of interesting.
A friend of mine won one, and he sold it for $650 2 days later.
Yeah.
And I've seen him sell for $750 to $900 because I was paying attention to it. And there's 50 guys out there that happens with their product, and it reminds me a lot of what goes on with. And in pool, it's different because about the only guys you could do that with are Searing, Showman,
Southwest.
No, you can't. There's not that. Used to be, but now they've jacked their prices up to the point where it ain't like it used to be.
Well, it's true. The pricing has changed, but the supply and demand curve is still there with 8 years out or something.
Right.
Yeah, probably Zambodi, but I don't know where he stands. Yeah.
For sure. But I told all that story to kind of get to where I'm going with the Zambodi thing. That Bob Loveless guy, there was another video of the first video was presented by the son of one of the largest dealers in the country for the last couple 20, 30 years. There's another video where his father, his old man who started it, down in Georgia, somewhere around Atlanta, I think. But he was telling his story about how he, how he got into those knives and how he became a dealer and all this other stuff. But it was a really fascinating interview from a dealer point of view, dealer collector point of view. But I thought, wouldn't it be really cool to do something on Gus Zambodi where, because it's all still there. The Qs are still around.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Barry is around. And the dealers and things like that. Because I remember being in a pool room when I was probably 16 years old, hearing about Zambodi Qs.
Yeah, me too.
And I had no idea,
who's that?
Never heard of it. They were talking about, this Q costs $3,000. I'm like, holy shit, who would pay $3,000 for a Q? This was in the late 80s. And but I remember hearing them talking about that. And but I thought it'd be really cool. I think it would make a neat documentary because there's some old it's got the old footage of Gus going through, breaking down how he made it. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's on YouTube. It's awesome. It's an interview with Gus, and it's got maybe 5 or 6 Qs in different stages of completion, all his Qs, and it's Gus talking about how he puts a Q together. And it's how he splices the blanks. It's really awesome stuff. Yeah. We're lucky somebody did that then. And
I'll look that up because I had a huge collection. Probably a couple of mine might even be in there.
Yeah, but
I've actually got the photograph of him in his shop working over his lathe.
Mhm.
And the reason you can tell is because it's reversed. The clock on the wall is backwards.
Yeah.
Which it's like left-handed picture, whatever you call it. Yeah. You have the actual print.
But I thought that would be really cool because you could do, interviews with some of the bigger dealers. You could interview the players who played with his cue. Kim Davenport played with his Zamboni
Oh, yeah.
forever.
Forever.
And so a lot of players of that era, at one
Well,
time
all
or
of them
another.
did. A lot of them did.
But I thought that would be, and it might be a project I can take on because I really looked at it, and you could do the whole thing in a weekend at Super Billiards Expo because everyone's there, especially if Barry comes.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be really cool because I've been lucky enough to do something like that. I did it with Ernie, and I still.
That was a fun one. Yeah.
And then I did the thing with John Showman, which is probably going to be going up on the video on demand real soon. When I did those things, I didn't have the skills to do them right. It was more along the lines of just sit a camera there, and there was no real editing or storytelling, because I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I know more. I know more than I did then. But I think
I
think
tell
it would be
everybody
something
you
really
don't
cool.
know what you're doing too.
Yeah. But and it's I live on documentaries. That's all I watch. Almost exclusively, all I watch is documentaries of some sort or another, and it's all there. The craftsmanship and just all the different aspects, the design. And then you add on, because that's a hook for a lot of people. When I tell them, it's easy to spend $15,000-$20,000 on one of his cues, and people look at me like I'm nuts. Like, wow, really? That's a hook. That's a hook for people outside of the game, and so.
Well, there's always
Something to
interesting
think
cues. I
about.
mean, the Smithsonian has some cue sticks in it.
Yeah.
A few years back, so there's some awesome cues. Continuing on with some of the questions, there's another one here that's fairly decent. Why is the World 9-ball a single elimination when it gets to the final 64? Do we agree with it, and why? And there was a good thread on AZ Billiards that Johnny T started. It was, is it time for a 16 or 32-man professional tour or field? And Justin made some great responses there, and he and I have been kicking these things around for the last year or two because it's the only thing that makes any sense. You can't do what people like me have been doing. These 96-man fields don't get it. It's the expenses are now just overrunning. There's no source of income.
They don't get it, and no one really makes any money.
Yeah, no, and it's just and
I
you
mean,
dilute
I
everything.
mean, no one.
Yeah,
Nobody makes any money.
yeah. So,
It's.
but I think there's to get it with Johnny T's thing. Yeah, I think the time is better now than it was, but all the pieces aren't there. It still needs some more pieces. But getting back to the single elimination, because if somebody was to do a short 16-man field, you probably would have single eliminations. I don't have a problem with single elimination, but I think you need to have a round robin. If you're doing a 64, 128-man field, you have to have a round robin field or groups, and then the top two go to the finals, or the final bracket, and then you can go single. I think all the world's events are. Well, there goes my earpiece, but that's okay. All the world's events are single elimination once they get to a certain point through the, it just works better.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. As far as for a 16-man format, I like a 16-man single elimination format. But the only way that makes any kind of real sense is if you're going to have 8 or 10 events.
Oh yeah, you can't do 2 or 3 events because
Yeah.
unless you have a huge sponsor in there and you're playing for $100,000 every event. We're not talking those. We're talking get down in the dirt.
That's. I mean, I laid out the numbers that I
Yeah.
put out were for basically no outside money.
Yeah.
The tour's paid for. The infrastructure and running of the tour is paid for by the stream. The prize fund is put in by the player. It's 100% payback. No money's taken out. So the players are putting in $1,000 each, and then a $5,000 site fee. And now that's with no sponsorship. And if something like that did start, and it was organized, and you went out and you got the dates and you got the locations and you started, You know, by the time you were halfway through it, you'd have people jumping on board.
Except,
Because people are hungry for it. And that's one of the things about that I was impressed about with bonus ball was how much the players got on board and supported it and really pulled for it. Because it's the first structure that they had a shot at since the IPT. And
it's just that there was
people want that. So, I mean, I think if there is a structure
you can
done right, but at the same time, it all goes back to the fact
you have to have a workable business plan.
Well,
that is logic.
It is. Well, no, I mean it would support itself.
Well, I don't know. Just it depends how the logistics of taking a truck and stashing everything in it and driving from point A to point B. Yeah. Those expenses get way underestimated. You wait till you blow an engine or something.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about a pro tour with the best players in the United States. If somebody can't come up with $50,000 to run a pro tour, then we're all wasting our time.
Yeah, well,
we really are. I mean, you could run if you took the 60,000 that you added in 1 week, and wanted to put that behind a pro tour. It could happen.
You would not get anywhere near the amount of events you think you'd get. It just won't happen.
Yeah, you would.
Everything costs. Gas costs, insurance costs, traveling the tar equipment around the world costs. Everything costs.
I know what it costs. I was on the road for 2 years, Mark. I was on the road long before you were around here. Yeah. I mean, believe me, I know what it costs. So that's why I'm telling you. But the problem is, nothing's going to change if nobody does anything.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And,
I mean, we can all sit around and talk about how shitty everything is, but which is fine. But if something wants to change, then everybody's got to put in, and that's why I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think anything will ever happen.
I actually think I think some
because nobody's going to do anything because it's too hard.
Well, everything's hard. That's one of the major reasons I'm changing the format so drastically at our Open. I'm going to give up.
But that's easier for you.
No,
that's my point. You're doing it because it's easier.
No, it's because it's lower level of frustration.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to work with people that won't work towards a common goal, which is exactly everybody has to work together.
Yeah, but so what's the common goal? You're going to, I mean, and this is the player's point of view. Your common goal is now less players are going to get a chance to make money, and you're only going to do an event for 1 week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a tour.
So what's that common goal?
Common goal is that they support the industry. They try to work with some of the amateurs that are there. It's the problem with one of the problems with the pros, the existing crop of pros, they do not relate well to the playing public. You have to have fans. If you don't have fans, you got no seats in the chairs. Same old story. They don't know how to promote themselves. They don't know how to do this. All they do basically is they put balls in a hole, and some of them bitch a lot.
Well, I mean,
it's unfortunate, but
they could definitely do more. But at the same time, that's pretty much the promoter's job.
I'm just going to disagree with you.
The promoter's job is not to just say, "Here's some money, play for it." It's more than that.
No,
because how are you can have, you can go out and put money in.
Listen,
but if you don't tell people about it.
As a promoter, I'm not supposed to hold their hands and tell them not to put crazy posts on Facebook that the promoter's ripping money off.
But that stuff doesn't matter. That's personal.
No, it doesn't. I mean, no, we just disagree again. So
how does, how does there's and I'm I understand because I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
But you put up an event, but there's no marketing. There's no outside stuff.
No, well,
there's no billboards, there's no ads in newspapers, there's no attempt to try to get, people don't even try. So the players say, well, if nobody's going to even try, and I'm paying the entry fee,
Well, for your information, we have tried. We've tried local Cox Cable, that 2 years ago.
I'm not just saying you, I'm talking industry-wide.
I understand that, but I'm the one that's responding at this point, and I don't know what a lot of the other ones do. All I know is some of the things we've tried, and they just don't work. You can advertise till your face is blue, and it might get you 2 people. So you blow another 10 grand. So why do it? That's why we went to no entry fees. If you're in the event, you just watch it for nothing. And of course, and we've always said, you and I have agreed to things. Well, maybe the pros are supposed to go on the road and say, here, you get what you can get in the door, and but they won't do it.
If they want to build something, that's
what all the other sports. And you're more of a history fan than I am. But you talk about skateboarding people. You talk about the horseback
Bull
rodeo
riders.
peoples,
Yeah.
they just said, here we are, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's an evolution process. I think that finally some things are going to change. We'll see. It's not worth arguing about. We're just going to do. We're going to do what we think we're supposed to do, and because I'm not ready to give up on the pro scene, because I think you have to have pros. And it's part of the complete circle. Amateurs got to see pros so they know how they're supposed to play. Unfortunately, these pros have got to quit doing some things. We don't want too many Earl Stricklands or John McEnroes. Enough broken sticks and things like that. There's just got to be behavior. There's got to be code of ethics.
Yeah, I mean,
all.
to me, I don't know which way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, for 30 years, they've been trying to turn these guys into golfers, and we're at where we're at. I mean, this is what we get. So there was another question about people, what do I think about action and gambling? I think gambling's awesome for the game. What I think sucks is the way a lot of people do it. And a lot of that comes from the fact that you have people that are desperate. They don't have any money to begin with.
Yeah.
And
Desperate people do desperate
yeah,
things.
that's always been the case around pool. When you get guys who are legitimate real gamblers, that understand, they don't bet more than they can afford to lose, and if they lose, they don't,
Yeah, it's not rent money.
Yeah. So, when you get guys like that, then it's awesome. I mean, it builds excitement. It gets people involved. Everybody wants to know what's going on. So I think gambling is a big part of it. Unfortunately, it's just I've seen everywhere I go, that's maybe 20% of how it goes down. The other 80% is terrible. It's just it runs off the good people, because people are always looking to pull moves. They're always just bullshit. And what happens is the people who have the money that can do this,
they go
do
away.
something else.
Sure.
They go buy a boat,
Yeah.
or they
Yeah.
they go do something else. So
And that's why things like there's so many boating shows and hunting shows, because the industry supports them, because they're I forgot the term, but they consume the consumables are so much higher. When you buy a cue stick, you're done. How much chalk can you buy?
How much chalk and how many cases are you going to buy?
So
That's tough.
it's an interesting.
And the other thing that's real
quandary.
tough too is now, even in the United States, the American-made products, it's kind of equalized now from where it was. But you had CJ always brings up how much money these guys used to make on sponsorships. Yeah, that's before they had to compete with $12 cues coming over in boatloads.
Mm-hmm.
And
the whole thing has changed. It's just I'm not saying I'm not going to write it off. I think there's some real potential coming up down the road. I think there's just need to be a little more cleaning out process. There you go. So whatever. I want to mention one thing, because Joe Tucker sent me a text, and this ABC League, the American Billiard Club, it's a completely self-sustaining, and it's not a normal league. It's a singles thing. Each room, there's only going to be 32 rooms, has 8 players and only 8 players. It lasts 7 weeks. And it's because I know Justin and I both said, whatever happens in this industry, it has to be self-sustaining. Finding a new sponsor or investor is not a business plan. It has to be advantageous to all the players, and by players I mean the people involved, not just the people shooting the balls in the hole. So either way, but I really wish, and I'm involved in the American Billiard Club, and I think Joe's on to a really good thing, and hopefully we can make it work. Let's talk a little bit about the main purpose here, Mr. Justin, and that's the TAR 36 is like next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Jason Shaw and Mike Deshane race to 27, 2 out of 3, 10 ball. Pay-per-view starts at 6 o'clock Eastern. No, 4 o'clock. What are you starting at? See, I'm roaming.
Probably start at 5.
5 local,
Never
8 o'clock
announced
Eastern.
it,
Yeah, it'll be faster, because both these guys are reasonably fast, and Jason's really fast. So, yeah. I'm just trying to think if we had any other I'm reading the notes here.
Somebody said, asked about an all-around. I think it was.
That was San Jose Dick.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I don't know how it works in a pay-per-view, you know, but I'll tell you one thing we're thinking of, and we're not stealing your idea, Dick, but we're thinking of doing something like that in reference to our Rio event in July of next year. Instead of doing the U.S. Opens, we may do an invitational and have some all-arounds. And because it's going to be a whole different model, so we've got plenty of things to put together. And there's also a couple of questions, and this got a little topic going. Randy Goldwater was asking what would happen if somebody was to get involved and do another straight pool event on the East Coast. And I had mentioned that we own the name U.S. Open Straight Pool, and we'd like to do something. And 2 or 3 people have contacted me. I haven't followed up with them. And Straight Pool IU is asking, can I elaborate a little bit on that? It's way preliminary.
Just call your boy Randy Goldwater.
Well, yeah, I had his number. I would if I could find it. But we're going to talk, you know, and there's some others. But what are the obstacles? A bunch of obstacles, you know. You can't do a tournament like that for $5,000 added. I hate doing them in pool rooms because there's always all these constraints. I would like to get it, and if you're going to do it right and get it WPA recognized, which takes a bottom line of probably $50,000 added. I would like to use it and revive the name U.S. Open Straight Pool for a couple of reasons. Then Charlie Williams and I could argue about which one of those 72 are previous U.S. Opens, because I think about half of them are. It's kind of funny, but whatever. Pool's pool. I'm just glad to see straight pool getting a little recognition. I'm old school, and I know straight pool is not the best game to watch for a lot of people. Neither is One Pocket, but the people that like it really like it. So.
Hang the Nine had a question. Said, since you have 2 sets of rails, pocket sizes available, how about letting players decide for each match what set to use? I personally am over the whole that debate. We went through that.
We did
for a year almost.
A lot of time, money, and expense, and hassle, and bullshit, and it was.
To me, and I'll tell this to anybody. Mike wanted to play on tighter pockets. And,
yeah, he did.
You know, the same thing I tell everybody. This is the table you play the U.S. Open on. It's the table you play the Derby City on.
The Moscone Cup.
It's the table it's the table you play every major event on.
Turning Stone.
Yeah. If this was some kind of gaffed up 5-inch bucket table, you know, sure, no problem.
It's a standard.
It's a standard table, and believe me, guys still miss a lot. You know, especially when that heat starts coming on. But there was another question. Where we at? When will the Diamond 10-footer be used? Like I told Mark, they do it every January.
Yeah, that was who asked that?
Derby City.
Lee Brett asked that.
Yeah, I'm not a 10-foot.
I'm not a 10-foot fan either. There's a time and a place for them, and this isn't it. You know.
I mean, to me, it's already so scattered.
Yeah.
That, you know, if every pro event went to them, and they used that to differentiate between pros, sure, okay. But it's not that way, and it won't be that way.
For instance, if somebody put together a 16-man tour with 2 10-foot tables, because that's all you need, and you traveled around doing it, changes the ball game. That's a different horse of a different color. I agree. See, we agree. Hard to believe.
Yeah, but nobody's ever going to do it.
Well, I understand that. Yeah, I don't know.
If a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass.
Really? I wouldn't know anything about frogs.
Jay Hansen. Long-term plans for tour, grow in the UFC pro type. You know, that to me is the easiest path forward for any kind of structure would be a UFC type thing that we could set up. But the problem comes into we don't have. You know, TAR doesn't have any money. You know,
logistics.
We can't. No, it's not even logistics. It's, you know,
well,
how am I going? You know, you're not going to put up 60,000. I don't have 60,000. There's no sponsors to put up 50 or 60,000 for, you know, say we wanted to do a year-end thing or King of the Hill or a prize fund.
Yeah.
You know, there's just, it all comes down to one thing in this entire industry. Nobody's got any money. And the reason, even the people that do have money won't put it in because, you know why? There's no way to make any money.
Well, but also that comes back to this, the income source on a lot of stuff would be pay-per-view, and the pay-per-view crowd is stagnant.
Yeah, no,
There's not
pay-per-view is
growing.
what it is. It's not growing.
It's not growing.
And you know, that a lot of that, you know, it goes back to either a lot of it's my fault for not going out and figuring out how to get new people in. The other thing is, but it's not just me.
Look what happened to the industry. You started off, TAR, and I got involved with everything. Now you have everybody and their brothers streaming, and sometimes we can have an event where it's $25 to watch, and you could watch them the weekend before on a free stream, and they're playing for $500.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole the dynamics have changed, and people.
Yeah, but I still think quality matches.
Quality does. I agree.
Is where it's at.
Yep.
The quality of match and its quality of production. That people are still willing to pay for that, and
well, I agree.
And not only that, but knowing that when they pay for something, they're going to get it, and if something does happen, they're going to get support. They're not going to just get screwed.
Yeah. But let's leave, because we're going to be shutting this thing off in a few minutes. Let's leave them with a positive thing.
Hold on,
with
I'm
the
not
future.
done yet. Let me finish.
You're not done?
Not done yet, because there's something in here I want to mention. Are you planning to do a big nasty commemorative type event? This is Jay Hansen, Justin Hansen. Are you still planning to do a big nasty commemorative type event? If so, what? I'd like to hear how things are different now without the big man around. Haven't heard much about the big guy lately. I'd love to hear some of your insight. Now it's been around a year since his passing. Yeah, I would still really like to do something, and I'm trying to work on something for December. Maybe, hopefully, when Moscone Cup's in town. If these guys are here, it all comes down to money, man. That's what it always comes down to.
Well, having enough time to promote it too.
Doesn't matter.
You need a couple of weeks anyhow.
Well, no, but a couple of weeks. What are you talking
well,
about?
no, I'm saying because sometimes people's schedules, you can't find out who's going to be here. So you got to have you got to get dates committed so you can do things.
Yeah. But it's still, I mean, when you start talking about doing more than what we do now with those two guys, it comes down to money. Because if you do 4 guys, now you've doubled your expenses.
Yeah.
You're not going to double your income.
No.
So
it doesn't work.
The money's got to come from somewhere.
Yep.
And the players aren't going to play for half. The pay-per-view audience isn't going to pay double.
No, it's a finite market.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
That's.
Well, you can say that, but we had, and I'm not going to go into a lot of depth, but Justin and I had a kind of an interesting conversation last week about maybe something we can do in conjunction with the July event at the Rio, which is our nationals. Since we're going to have a small invitational field, we may be able to cater the field to the people we want in tar matches and do some kind of king of the hill. You can name it anything you want. But we'll have 10 days to do something, and maybe we'll come up with something that might be a home run. You just don't know. There's a lot of moving parts that we could put together.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of cool shit you could do, with that kind of resources and with that location and things like that, without a doubt. But, and that's awesome, and I think it will be awesome. Yeah. But going forward, it's still just one thing.
Absolutely. It's one event a year.
And
and
to me, that's... and maybe that's, if that's what it is, fine. I'll keep grinding it out until, I can't, and then I'll go do something else.
Yeah, well.
But if, to me, I just really believe if there was some kind of structure that was just, and it wouldn't have to be, because here's what would happen. Even if the big stars didn't buy in, what would eventually, if it kept going, what would eventually happen is they would buy in once they saw that it was real.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to be a part of something.
Yeah.
And it's just, and not only that, but any kind of structure like that would set apart. It would make being a pro mean something. Because right now, let's be honest.
Doesn't mean anything.
Being a pro player doesn't mean shit.
Yeah. There's not even a definition of it.
Now,
basically.
being a Moscone Cup player, that's about the only thing you can say that sets you apart. Is I'm played on the Moscone. If you've played on the Moscone Cup, you're a great player. But it's just, but right now that's the only way, the only bar is something like that, or a world champion or something like that. But to me, I just really believe, and bonus ball proved this to me. These guys bent over backwards and just got jerked around for a year, and still came in with good attitudes. And pulled. And
that was kind of amazing. I think it was misguided, misdirected, but it was pretty surprising that the loyalties that they showed.
But to me, and I don't think they showed loyalty to anything but the fact that it was a structure. The fact that it was, those half of those guys didn't know anybody involved. So
They were,
it's
yeah. Well, I'm
you
not
know,
going to go in there.
to me, I really think it's the structure is what drew them in, because everybody wants something more, and everybody knows that this ain't ever going anywhere where we're at. It's the same thing.
Well, you're just way more down than I am. I'm a little
I'm
more
not
optimistic.
down. I'm just
No,
what are you
I'm
optimistic about?
I see some things in the future that can make some difference to some people. I mean, it's
But
just,
how do you?
I'm an optimistic person. That's why.
I understand. I mean,
you know.
but my point is, if you don't change something, if something doesn't change,
Oh,
how is anything ever going to be
well,
different?
I understand that, and things are changing. They're just subtle changes. I'm not.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm changing the way I'm doing things because I think it'll have a bigger impact. And I'm gonna make some rules, and some people are not gonna like the rules, but then you can't participate. That's all because.
Well, I mean, but still, how does that change anything?
Because I think it can lay the core or a basis for how, quote, professional players are supposed to act. This is a professional
You're talking
behavior.
about 1 week.
That's Justin. That's fine. It starts somewhere.
Yeah.
It's going to make a statement to the pool world. I mean, I don't have to do professional events. You know that. I mean, I do them because I love the game. We don't make any money on it. That's for damn sure. And people are it's going to be one of those my way or the highway deals. Not to be arrogant, but it just doesn't. We all agree what has been going on for the last few years doesn't work. So let's make some changes. Let's attempt to, so let's do it.
Well, to me,
So,
it all
that's
goes
what's gonna
back
happen.
to I don't know.
Okay.
As long as it's independent events put on by a bunch of different people whenever they feel like it, that's
Well,
all it'll ever be.
Well, I don't know. The old Camel Tour was actually a bunch of independent events that they went around and corralled under one title.
Sure,
Yeah.
fine.
But that was a sponsorship issue. No, there's a lot of things that just aren't going to happen. But it's also, that was the model with 16 tables and 64 to 128 players, and that model is broken. The costs are just too high. So the next model that'll make any sense is the 2 to 4 table, could be 1 table, events. So.
But it's going back to nasty. I want to put something together, and it'll just come down to how it works out. We'll see. Because I'm not going to do something half-ass, and I'm not just going to, we'll see.
Okay, so let's see. TAR's got TAR 36, and then we're going to try and do something somewhere around the Moscone Cup time. Then U.S. Bar Tables in February. The BCA Pool League and CSI event is at the Rio in July. So there's 2 or 3 other things that we'll be probably filling in the blanks. Maybe something between TAR 36 and the Moscone Cup. There's a month and a half.
Yeah. I've got an idea for a match. I've got to contact some guys. And
I'll
see
tell
if
you what
I
I'd
can
like
put
to see,
together.
but Hennessy hurt himself. I want to see Hennessy and Shane play on the bar box.
Yeah.
But he broke his back. But I think he's getting along pretty good. Maybe it just was, I don't know, he took a motorcycle off the road.
Well, I'll tell you something that's, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say anything until I talk to anybody, see if they're even interested. But it's a match I think would be good. And it's something, people have been sending me emails back and forth and things and other things, but I've been thinking about it anyway, was Bergman and Justin Hall.
I'd love to see Justin Bergman play. He's on fire, and he's a sporty little player.
But
And
I
he
think
quit
that,
for a while.
I think that would be a good match.
Well, I think Bergman's wins, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't care what they play, really.
Yeah. No, but I think that'd be a good match.
It would be a good match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right.
What else? Well, I want to get through these. People took the time to
Okay.
write, so I want to get through
All
them.
right.
Given the negative reaction, this is from Credo. Given the negative reaction, will Mike still concede games where the other guy makes the whole concession thing? I think I've been pretty vocal about it over the years. I hate it. I'm not for it.
It's unsportsmanlike behavior.
And I'm going to be more upfront about it with the players when they play our matches. It's no good. It's terrible. It's bad. I really believe that at a professional level. If it's 2 guys playing in a pool room and you're playing your buddy, who gives a shit? But when it's pros and they're putting it out there for people to see, you never quit. You always finish the game.
That's right.
I mean, if it means you take a beating, then you take your beating.
It's not professional behavior. It's that simple.
Uh,
Neither is breaking a cue stick or any other equipment. And we have that happen.
I would rather see a guy break a cue stick than quit, than concede.
Yeah,
I
I don't
would.
know.
I really would. I absolutely would.
They're both so wrong. I can't.
I mean, to me,
Which one's better
a
or
guy
worse,
breaks a cue stick. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not out here thinking guys should be breaking cue sticks all over everything. But to me, it at least shows the fact that, he wanted to win.
Emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if, I can understand it.
Depends how you break the stick too.
Yeah.
If you just,
Yeah.
slap it and it hits something, or if
Yeah.
you just put it over your knee or
Yeah.
wrap it around the table.
And
There's degrees.
Let's be honest, man. I mean, people love that shit.
Well,
Really. I mean, if you break,
yeah,
I really, I don't want to turn it into wrestling, but if it's legitimate and the guy's in the heat of the moment and something happens, I can forget. I'm not going to jump on a guy for that.
Okay.
But I don't think it's good. I'm just saying that I would rather see that than see a guy concede with 3, 4, 5 balls or even a 9 ball.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you why, it all goes back to gambling. Because, I used to stake Shane. I used to bet on a lot of pool matches. Nothing drove me crazier than to see somebody up there playing on my money concede.
Seeding. Yeah, because
I've seen people miscue. I've seen people dog it.
oh yeah.
I mean, we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's just,
And
you never give your money away.
And they think it's being courteous and respect to the other player, and it's misplaced.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I disagree. I think a lot of concessions, I don't think it's respectful. I don't think that's I think it's, I just don't want to sit here and watch that guy shoot that ball in the hole and beat me. If I stand up and raise my hand and concede, that's maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I've seen a lot of shitty concessions.
Well,
you see a guy rake the balls and all. That's not a concession.
No,
But
it's not proper behavior. We both agree on that.
nope. What else we got? Eric, can you talk more about the backstory behind the matchup, some of the back and forth woofing between Mike and Jason? These guys, ever since Mike and Shane played, actually it was Mike and Dennis. And that was when Shaw was still, it was before he's as popular as he is now. When he was out in New York, he was really, Mike and him were kind of chirping back and forth. And then it kept going from there. But like I said, I haven't seen too much public stuff now. And Mark's probably right. They're just busy. Some of these questions we'll answer when these guys are here next week.
A lot of them were geared around, and they will be here next week. I won't be. I'm going to be out of town.
What else we got? Here we go, SJD.
That was the all-around.
Yeah, all-arounds for sure.
And I appreciate your comments, San Jose. Dick,
And
he's
very
knowledgeable.
I would love to do a one-pocket match. But I want to do Shane and Efren. I want them to play
Again,
a one-pocket match.
I
A one-pocket, just a
that
straight
is
one-pocket match.
awesome.
But I have no idea when Efren's going to be around.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's about it. There's not too much.
Let me see if there was anything in the chat.
TAR 36, next Friday. Now, next Thursday, you'll have both of them in here for the podcast, so there'll be a lot more questions and interviews and everything.
Yeah.
Get Bobby Cotton down here, somebody to yap at him.
Mm-hmm. So next week, podcast Thursday with the players, and we'll do. We're going to kick it off. You'll be seeing more and more stuff on Facebook and AZ starting Monday. I'm going to do some giveaways for free passes to watch, and try to get people excited to sweat this. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be an exciting, fast-paced match. It's not going to be a
You're right.
drawn out.
No.
It's going to be a firefight.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's good. And the momentum will change fast. That's just the way it works with Jason particularly. So I don't have too much more to say.
Yeah, I'm good. That's it, guys. Just tomorrow, TAR 1 goes live on the video on demand. It'll be up on the homepage. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it on AZ as well. So you can check that out. Very first TAR match with Shane, Corey, commentary
Yeah.
by Grady and Billy.
That
really
was
cool stuff.
And was that a 2-day race? Raced 50 each night? Or
Yeah,
was it
50.
It was 50
And
50.
that's where the whole race to 100 thing started.
Yeah.
And we just pulled it completely out of our ass.
Yeah.
Nasty came up with it.
Yeah.
We were talking back and forth. I was saying 75, and he was like, well, "If we're gonna do 75, might as well do 100." That's like a good point. So we did 100, and
It wasn't long. I mean,
well,
it was
the
like
problem
5 hours.
was that place had to close at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
in the morning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember.
And
that.
I was
Yeah.
we were
Really
really sweating that. And
Yeah, it's just a bar, you know.
yeah, and we were just that we didn't wrap our heads around that until like the day before, and then we started doing it. We're like, this could be a mess. So, but it worked out.
Yeah.
So
All
it
right.
actually turned into a great event.
It was a great event. All right. Well, stay tuned for next week. TAR Podcast 37. Excuse me, TAR Podcast 45, and then TAR Match 36 is next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I won't be here. I'll try to watch it. I'm sure I can get a code from Justin.
It's free. No, the podcast is free.
Yeah. You're not going to charge me to watch the match, are you?
I don't know. It might be a new policy. No comps.
Yeah, I hear you.
Gotta make
Okay,
that money.
well, thanks a lot. I don't have anything more to say. Just
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
We'll keep your eyes on the Facebook and AZ. We'll have more stuff for you this week.
okay,
Have a good one.
that's it.
Yep.
Good night, all. See you later, Charlie.